So welcome to 2Heads Talks, episode 4 of the vlogs. So we're going to talk about innovation, research and development, what's happening on the sort of front lines of virtual and hybrid events right now. I am here with some of the digital team. We've got on both my left,
Hi, I'm Sam. I work in IT and experiential.
And I'm Lee, and I help manage and lead the digital projects at 2Heads.
Awesome, let's get into it. So what do you mean when we talk about virtual experiences? What is that?
I see online experiences as being delivering a service rather than a specific method in which to communicate with people. So, we could look at online portals for communicating products, we can look at configurators, but these things should be used because they are the best method to deliver a specific service to people.
I think you raise a very good point there. When looking at an online experience, to what end are we trying to engage with the customer? The difference between a great online experience and something which is maybe mediocre is that lack of message. I've seen some examples where it's almost been distracting.
This is exactly where your world comes in, the world of user experience and sort of applications and web. Like, let the product speak for itself, right?
I think that's what's been really important about the workshops we've been running with clients. It helps us to understand their problems, think of solutions, and then deliver a product that can help answer those questions.
I was looking at a video the other day, and it's a couple of guys that have created, it's an online experience where you can log on to a server that will take over two drones, and you can have a dogfight with two drones remotely. So I mean, and there's a lot going on there because from a technical perspective, you've got things like latency between the controls that you're sending and getting it to the drone.
Yeah.
You've got the visuals coming back, but yeah, they've created this experience. Pure fun, not there's no other thing for it, but it's a great sort of activation.
Are we talking like a little quadcopter drone or like a bigger drone?
Like a sort of, it looked like a sort of clone of a DJI
Okay.
Yeah,
because otherwise when you say dogfight and drone,
yeah, we're not looking at war games here.
Okay.
It's not some sort of government conspiracy where they're going to have you taking over the drones that you think are in a. Yeah, I think that there was a film about that. I'm sure.
Should we talk about what we're doing, what tools we're playing with right now in terms of, our innovation? We have ongoing R&D sort of projects, both to tackle this kind of shift to virtual and shift to hybrid, and create sort of new products and new experiences of people. So what kind of stuff are we playing with right now?
So I'm going to touch on a product called Unreal Engine. A game engine is a piece of software that enables developers to create a 2D or 3D environment quickly and concisely without having to code it from the ground up. You can create a photorealistic world with the technology that we have right now.
So I think what's quite exciting about game engines, gaming technology, is it has come full circle, because when it was in its infancy, there was a material and technology around that people could learn code and start creating their own games. Of course, those people then, as they grew up and learnt more, they started maturing the gaming world themselves and started creating these engines. And now that those technologies are just becoming more accessible to people, and so the whole thing's come full circle where we have a new generation of people who are now learning on these gaming engines and not only creating their own games, but using that technology to apply to different areas and create new experiences that aren't specifically just games.
Having that ability to connect an outside audience into your physical event is great because you've got the benefit of both worlds. You've got the huge reach of the virtual space, but then you've got the sort of personal sort of one-to-one connection, the networking that's really sort of unique in a physical event. And game engine technology is a really powerful way of making that bridge.
I think the next level will be the combination of physical and virtual. So you've got a physical speaker suddenly in a virtual environment, and some of it's being done at the moment.
Even the holographic stuff, like the Pepper's Ghost hologram. I've seen a panel discussion last year where they had 3 speakers in person, and then they had Pepper's Ghost with a 4th speaker. So
is that Pepper's Ghost? Is that with the projector pointing at the screen?
Yeah, Pepper's Ghost is the famous example of Pepper's Ghost was the Tupac concert, where he was on stage and it's basically a slanted piece of glass with a projector, and it looks like, if you're at a distance from a certain angle, that it's like a real person.
Right, right.
So a kind of old school holographic tech.
Yeah, yeah.
We talked a lot about technology and the how and the delivery of things. Like, what about content? You know, with media clients, I think in particular, there are some really interesting conversations that we can start to have or enable, I suppose, because we're now in this sort of virtual hybrid space. So, you know, what kind of tools are we looking at right now that can enable those conversations?
So I think a really exciting possibility is for media clients to be able to rely on their stars and their behind-the-scenes crew to help sell their content in a way that they weren't able to before. So in the virtual space, you could invite your stars, your crew, to start talking about the product and to be able to start holding open conversations with potential clients. We can probably do now with looking at hybrid and virtual event experiences, which you probably wouldn't be able to get access to those people so readily in the event space.
You're right, you're absolutely right. It's much easier now when all you've got to do is open your laptop and sign in from your kitchen to have access to all sorts of people, you know, and not just media with cast and crew and stars, but also with other businesses too. You know, who are the people behind the scenes? Who are the people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to normally? The product experts, the engineers, the scientists, the data scientists, whatever it is. Like, let's talk to those people, you know, let's see who makes things tick behind the scenes. Like, that's a whole new realm of content, which is really, potentially really interesting. So aside from game engine environments and experiences, I think communication is really important because that's what people go to events to do. They go to communicate, whether it's talking to salespeople or whatever, you're having a conversation. So networking is like the crux of a lot of physical events. You know, how do you meet people? How do you make business? How do you get new clients? You find new products? It's all about talking to people. So typically, in an online environment, talking to people can be quite difficult. It can be quite impersonal. Whether you're on Zoom, or whether you're in a chat box, whether you're in a webinar, there's a distance there that is apparent.
The main thing with regards to the networking approach, it really just comes down to creating connections. And that's a much easier thing to do face to face. So whatever you do, you are primarily focusing on that, creating an immediate connection between people. You don't have the luxury of a bar selling a beer. So whatever you have to do has to be incredibly engaging.
What have we seen that makes networking come to life in a virtual space?
We're working on networking tools that will create a free space where people can flow through conversations quite easily, join different teams and start trying to pick up the information they want to gain very quickly.
So you're saying like video, chat, boring, but whiteboards, workshops, design thinking tools, like all that sort of other more creative way of communicating, good.
Yeah, because they've got a specific purpose. You know, if you're using an online whiteboard, it's there for a specific way of planning, creating new ideas and things like that. And it's much easier to get into doing that with a specific tool like that, where if you're on an open platform like a video call program, you know, it hasn't got a very clear direction. So it's quite hard to step straight into that process and get the most out of the time that you have. So
you could almost say that you're kind of gamifying conversations online, right? You give it a beginning, you give it a middle, you give it an end, you give it a structure, you can assign points to people.
I think giving people specific tools to steer their conversation is a really good way of helping people get what they need and getting it in, maximizing the time that they're using to do that.
And you can start to maybe quantify the output of those meetings and conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's where our clients come in. They're the ones that can help drive these conversations, give it a steer, give people the cues that can start striking up these conversations. And I think that's where what we're working on is going to become really handy for our clients, because that's going to give them the right framework in which to do those things.
I would say we're in the infancy of this kind of exploration right now, but what we're seeing so far is really exciting. And what we're doing with that as well is making leaps and bounds basically over the months.